Hi everyone, welcome back to the Lady Lawyer channel. Lady Lawyer here. I'm glad to have you back. And I'm very excited about all your feedback that I've gotten on the last video regarding scholarships. I have received a lot of emails. I have also received a lot of comments, and I'm glad that you're watching and sharing the videos. Thank you very much for the support. And I also want to ask you to continue supporting so that I will keep putting out the content that can help you. So, the first order of business today, why haven't you subscribed? If you haven't subscribed to this channel, just do it. It's free. Please do it right now. Thank you very much. Today, we're going to be talking about the all-important subject of letters of motivation. In the last video about scholarships, we kept mentioning this important document time and time and time again. This document is very important because it is like the cherry on top of the cake of your application, either for admission and also for scholarship. So this is a really crucial document, and you must know how to represent yourself properly through the use of the motivation letter. Some people call it a personal statement, a letter of motivation, or a motivation letter, or a cover letter in the case of application for a job. The most important thing, if you see anything that looks like this, is that this document is intended to provide a general overview about the candidates and why you think that you are a good fit for the position, either a graduate position or a scholarship. So this is the most important thing about the letter of motivation. It should provide information about you. Who are you? What are your interests? What are your ambitions? What have you done in the past? And why do you think that you're a good fit for this scholarship or this graduate class, this master's class, or this doctoral program? So, you know, this document is so important, it's so central, because it is the only thing among your stack of application documents that you can personalize. You cannot personalize your certificates. You cannot personalize so many other things that you would submit. Your CV is tailored to a very specific style. And we would subsequently talk about CVs further in other videos. But also, CVs are quite formal. There's a certain way in which they have to be written. But this letter of motivation can be done in your personal style. And this is why it's an opportunity for you to showcase who you are to the reviewer, to the person who is shortlisting, and then make a good impression, an impression that would, that would be enough to consider you for either that position or the scholarship. So today we're going to talk about what the general structure of a letter of motivation should look like. And I'm going to break it down into three major categories when you're writing a letter. Remember that it's still a letter, so it should have the general format of a letter. And it shouldn't ideally be more than one page. This is important because you do not want to bore your reviewer, and the reviewer will probably be reading hundreds, if not thousands in many cases, of letters like yours. So you want to make it short and sweet, like they say, keep it short and sweet. But in this short one-page letter, it must pack a great punch. So in the first instance, every letter opens with an introduction. For your letter of motivation, assuming that you're applying for a graduate program or you're applying for a scholarship, what do you put in the introduction part? Basically, as the name suggests, it's introducing yourself to the reviewer. Who are you? And close on the heels of who you are is, what have you done? Why are you applying for this program? Or why are you applying for the scholarship? So for example, I could say, my name is Victoria. I have this degree in blah, blah, blah. And closely, you start leading up with why you think you're a good candidate. I will still get to one of the most important principles of letters of motivation, and that principle is the principle of research. So every statement in your letter of motivation must be closely or must be answering a question that is in the profile of that position. Either, for example, when you have looked at the master's program and what it offers, then every line in your letter of motivation should address each of the things that that program offers. If it's a scholarship, you must address why you think you are the right candidate. In the event of it, if it's a job, you look at the job description and then let your line, every line in your letter of motivation address that. But we're not talking about job today. I just gave that example. So basically in the introduction part, you introduce yourself. But it's not about, oh, my name is Victoria. I come from a family of 15 people and I lived in my village, and all of those they are irrelevant information. So you have to think very clearly which information will be most relevant to the reviewer, and you must be able to justify the place of every bit of information that you're putting in the letter. The second question, which I think should be in the second paragraph, is why are you applying? And this is very crucial because you have to be able to justify why you fit for this program. Why should you take the position of somebody else? Why should we, give you the scholarship? Why must we give you a place in the program and not somebody else? This is very crucial. So one of the ways in which you can do this is to highlight the experiences that you have had in the past. For example, I have volunteered in some NGOs in the past. I have worked in this organization. This NGO that you are highlighting that you have volunteered, for example, the goals or what it does is close to the program that you intend to study. So, for example, I am applying for a master's in women's human rights, and I volunteered in an NGO that has dealt with women human rights cases. I can use that experience, highlight it and say, I have volunteered in this NGO for this number of months. This was the output that I produced while I was there. This was what I was doing. And this actually triggered my interest in this field. And so I am applying for this program. You understand that makes a lot of sense, as opposed to just saying, well, I studied this and I did that and I did that. That does not. So you have to always relate your experiences with the program that you are intending to apply for. So, for example, you've had previous research experience in that area, or you've had leadership experience in the university, which brought you in line with so. You are applying for a master's in public policy and governance. And while you were in the university, you were a student union executive. You were a faculty, you had a position in your faculty. You could actually highlight that and say, this awakened my interest in public policy, in governance, in how people are governed. And this is why I am interested in this field. You know that makes a lot of sense, as opposed to just saying, well, I was a student leader and keep it pushing. So every information that you put there must be very, very relevant, and you must make it relevant. You have published articles, you have attended conferences. You have to be able to highlight this information. So this is crucial. And then, of course, why do you think you are the right person for the program? It depends on how you're able to use the information that you have. Like I said in the last video, packaging. How are you using the information that you have properly towards the course of that program? How are you using what you have done, your experiences, putting it in the right context to make you look like the best thing since sliced bread? So, for example, how is it different to study in Germany than your home country? That's another thing you can talk about in this paragraph. I like to study in Germany because the field of international criminal law is not well developed in my country, even though my country is one of the countries where the incidences of international crimes are high. We've had dealings with terrorism in the past. We've had challenges around oil bunkering, and this has awakened my interest. But I looked around my country and there is no graduate course in this field. So I had to look abroad. And then I looked at Germany and I see that Germany is the birthplace of modern international criminal law. And where else could I study than in Germany? When you do that, somebody looks at it and says, it makes sense that this student wants to come and study in Germany. So this is very important. what value will it add to you? What value does studying in Germany add to you, aside from, for example, studying in the United Kingdom or studying in the US? So you have to make it appear as though this is the best thing that can ever happen to me. If you're in technology, for example, is there a new tech that they have in Germany that they do not have in your country or in your continent? This should be reflected in your letter of motivation and reflected properly in a way that you will stand out as a candidate. Of course, the last part of any letter is the conclusion. In a good letter of motivation, what should you write in your conclusion? Basically, as far as I am concerned, this is an outlook part of the letter. And I like to end all letters of motivation in this way. What will this admission or this scholarship do for you? What will it do for your future? What will it do for your career? So, for example, you can say, well, this will be the beginning of whatever for my career. This would be for example, I cannot afford, if I didn't have this opportunity, I probably would not be able to afford to study. And when you put everything together, it makes sense to the reviewer to give you an opportunity. Another thing you can highlight is the fact that you have multiplicatory effect. This is something that is very important and most reviewers actually look at. I have reviewed master's applications before, and I know that one thing we look at is we look for candidates who would have a multiplicatory effect. So, for example, you come from a university or from a community that is not well known, or you come from a place where not many candidates have come from, to our program. We look at you and we're like, okay, this is, if you are a good candidate on paper, then we try to look further. How would this person make a greater impact? And this is something you should reflect in your letter of motivation. When I am done with my studies, I like to do this and that. I would like to make this impact in my community. I like to mentor young people. I like to do this and do that. These are the things that make you immediately begin to stand out among your colleagues. So that's the so-called multiplicatory effect. If you can reflect that properly in your letter of motivation, I can tell you, you are a sure winner. As you write your letter of motivation, note that the letter of motivation is not your CV. So it's not a place where you just basically write everything that's in your CV. No, that's not done at all. And remember that, as I said earlier, everything you write in your letter of motivation must be contextualized with the requirements for the program. You must make it seem like you are the best candidates there is anywhere in the world. Now, I have 5 things for you to note as I wrap up this video. 5 things to note as you write your letter of motivation. Number 1, style of writing. This is a big challenge with many candidates from West Africa, especially from English-speaking West Africa. The tendency to write in a very verbose manner, the tendency to write big grammar, long-winded sentences is very high. So I would I will ask you to endeavor to make your sentences very simple. Simplicity, as they say, is the utmost sophistication. Write a letter that will be easy to read, that will be nice to read. Write a letter that somebody would enjoy reading, that will read like a story. Everybody loves a good story. Everybody loves a simple, good story. Start, have a middle, have an end. Don't make it with too much flowery language. Don't make it too long-winded. Be clear. Be very clear. This is crucial, and you'll be surprised at how difficult this is. So this is something to focus on. Make it simple. Make it clear. Make it simple. Number 2, I would advise you, although a lot of students outsource their letters, if you can, I would advise that you write it yourself. This is important. Even if you decide to outsource it, when somebody writes your letter for you, make sure you make it your own. Why? Because many of these scholarship agencies or master's program would call you for an interview. And what they will have in front of them is your CV and your letter of motivation. And if you don't know what is in your letter, Obviously, that's a big problem. So I would advise you as much as possible that you do not outsource your letter. And once you outsource it, make sure that you personalize it, which is my next point, personalization. You must personalize your letter, whether you wrote it yourself or somebody wrote it for you. Once I, as a reviewer, read your letter of motivation, I must know you better. I must know you better. I must feel like I know you better. So make sure that it is completely personalized, not just general sentences, general statements. No. Think about everything you're going to write down in that letter, because every word will either make you closer to having a scholarship or having an admission, or every word could either draw you away from it. This is not a time to write quotes by Karl Marx or Friedrich Engels. No. This is not the time to show that you know quotes. This is not the time to write the dictum of Lolade. No, this is the time to make it about yourself, to personalize it. Not to try to impress them by showing you no quotes. No, that's not the time. Make sure that this letter is personalized. And the fourth point is that please take care that you do not use the same letter of motivation for multiple applications. There's a tendency to do that if you're applying for so many things, and you may be tired. But think about each application you're doing very carefully and make sure that at least, even if you have the same structure of letter, that you personalize. Well, now, personalize is still the word, but now to contextualize the letters to the programs that you're applying for. So make sure that you don't use the letter that you used to apply for this university for another one. Why? Because sometimes these programs, even though they are in the same general field, have different nuances, a few things that are different. But if you use the same letter for everything, a good reviewer will see that, oh, this letter was not written for us, and that might be the only thing that will disqualify you. So you don't want to disqualify yourself that way. Please ensure that you make sure that each letter that you're using for different applications are written to that application or for that application. And the final point is that you make sure that you do your research. Do your research. Research about the university. Research about the scholarship provider, if it's for scholarship. Research about the city. When you're applying for a master's program, you could even put in your letter of motivation, oh, if this city is known for a certain culture, for example, you're going to Netherlands in the country, maybe you're going to one of the cities that is low-lying and, you know, it's there's a lot of water there. You could write something about loving water or about enjoying the culture. You could write something about enjoying the bike culture, the biking culture of Netherlands. And this is one of the reasons in your conclusion why you also look forward to coming to study there. You could write something about one cultural experience in that community in your conclusion that would just stand you apart. This is not something that you have to do, but it makes your application stand out. It makes your letter stand out. So when you write that in your conclusion, it's different from somebody who just wrote very random stuff. So this is the importance of doing your research. When you do your research, you know what is indigenous to that environment. You know what is special about that university. Some people are going to a university that's over 100 years old. You could reflect on the legacies of that university and say this is why you are applying there. That's something. If it's a new university, you could also reflect on that and say this is why you're applying. So it's about you knowing. Once you research, you know the approach to use. So this is very important. And that's my final point on this matter. As we go right along, I think in the next video on this topic, we're going to then talk about the CV and the style that is generally acceptable in Germany and how you should put it together. So as we go on in this series, I wish you all the best as you apply. And for those who are writing me, I am open to receiving your emails. I will provide all the support that I can. Kindly be patient with me. I would get to you and respond as soon as possible. And if you have not subscribed, what exactly are you waiting for? Please do it. Do it now. Do it now. I look forward to seeing you in the next one, and let's talk about this in the comment section. What do you think about letters of motivation? Is this something that's worth all the fuss? Should we put in so much effort into it? And if you have written successful ones in the past, are there other tips that you think people need to pay attention to that I haven't mentioned? Let's talk about it. And I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye now.